Let us start with next topic of Module 5, that is wireless LANs. We'll start with architecture comparison of wired LAN and wireless LAN. First point to be covered is medium. When you have a wired LAN, all the hosts in the network are connected using the cable. But in the wireless LAN, the hosts are not connected to network with the cable. So in wireless LAN, air is used as a medium, whereas in the wired LAN, cable is used as a medium. The second point is regarding the host. In a wired LAN, every host is physically connected to network. If you take the example of Ethernet, and if the nodes are connected in the LAN called Ethernet, in the Ethernet there will be NIC, network interface card, which is responsible to assign link layer address for each of the host. So if you remove the host from the Ethernet network and if you place it in another LAN, then its link layer address will remain the same, only the network address changes. Whereas in the wireless LAN, there is no physical connection between host and network, hence hosts are left free to move and they can use a services provided by the network. Then we have about the third point. In the wired LAN, we can call it as an isolated LAN, where hosts are connected to central switch and there is a point-to-point dedicated link between the switch and host. We call this type of LAN as isolated. But in the wireless, the hosts are not connected to any switch physically. Hence, and all the hosts in the wireless can communicate using air as a medium. We can call it as ad hoc type of network. In the diagram, you can just observe over the nodes or over the PC there is one symbol that is nothing but the antennas. Such a communication happens in wireless LAN. The next comparison is about how wired and wireless LAN are connected to other network. So wired LAN is connected to another network or it is connected to internet through the router. But in the wireless LAN can be connected to wired infrastructure network or it can be connected to wireless infrastructure network or it can be connected to another wireless network. And these connections are done using access point. Later you will come to know about infrastructure network and access point. Now we'll study about the characteristics of wireless LAN. The first characteristic is attenuation. Attenuation is nothing but decrease in the strength of electromagnetic signal. As a signal moves, the strength of the signal decreases. When strength of the signal decreases, instead of entire signal, only a small portion of signal is received by receiver. The second characteristic we have as interference. The meaning of interference is receiver will receive the signal even from non-intended sender. Let's take one simple example. Let us assume there are three hosts A, B and C, where A want to receive a data from B. When A want to receive a data from B, A will also receive a data from C, where C is non-intended sender and B is intended sender. Then third characteristics we have is multipath propagation. The meaning of multipath propagation is if there are any obstacles like a walls, like a ground, etc., then there is a chance of reflection. So when reflection happens, sender signals are sent more than once in the different direction. That is nothing but multipath propagation. Multi in the sense many, path indicates directions. So from a single sender, many times signals can be received. That is multipath propagation. Then we have error. Error detection is more serious in the wireless LAN when compared to that of wired LAN. And error detection can be calculated by SNR ratio, signal to noise ratio. If signal to noise ratio is high, then it is prone less to the error. Now, we'll study about the access method. Already we studied about the wired LAN, that is Ethernet, where the access method was CSMA or CA, that is carrier sends multiple access with collision detection. But the same method is not applicable for wireless LAN. Now we'll see why it is not applicable. There are three reasons why we cannot apply. The first reason is, if we want to detect the collision, then hosts must operate in a duplex mode, that is full duplex mode. The host should be ready to send its frame, at the same time it should be ready to receive the collision signal. But in wireless LAN, due to its less power, hosts fail to work or operate in duplex mode. The second reason is, it is due to signal fading. First, let us see what you mean by fading. Fading is nothing but variations in the attenuation. Again, attenuation is nothing but decrease in the strength. So when strength of the signal decreases, when receiver receives the signal, receiver is not able to receive the entire signal. He can only receive a portion of signal. Then the third reason is because of hidden station problem. Now let us explain about the hidden station problem. As a name itself suggests, if a problem is created by the station which is hidden from all other station in the network, we call it as hidden station problem. First, let us understand the concept here. In the diagram you can see there are three hosts, host A, host B and host C. And there are two circles indicating range of A and range of C. Now we'll see the meaning of circles. I think you can see the first circle which covers host A and B. The meaning is A is in the range of B, B is in the range of A. We named it as range A. So B can hear whatever done by A because B will share the coverage range of A. In the same manner, B will share the coverage range of C, but there is no connection or sharing between A and C. Hence we can say that transmission range of A reaches to B, transmission range of B reaches to C, and transmission range of A is not reached by C, and transmission range of C is not reached by A. This is the concept. Now, to explain the hidden station problem, let us assume that A want to send a data to B. Now, when A want to send a data to B, A will start its transmission. Let us assume A has started the transmission at the time T1 by sensing the medium as ideal. Now, C want to send the data to B. So whatever A does, it cannot be seen by C because C is out of range of A. And let us assume C starts its transmission at the time T2. But still at the time T2, A is under the process of transmission its data. Then the collision occurs at the station B. So whenever collision occurs at the station B, it cannot be seen by C because C is out of range of A. This problem we call it as hidden station problem. Since A is hidden from C, C is hidden from A, if A is sending a data to B, it cannot be known by C. If C is sending a data to B, it cannot be known by A, hence there is a chance of collision. Now, we'll come to actual topic, that is IEEE 802.11. Already in the Ethernet, we studied that IEEE is an organization that decides about standards for LAN. So for wired LAN, that is Ethernet, we had a standard as 802.3, and for wireless IEEE defined the standard as 802.11. First, let's go with the architecture. And 802.11 defines two types of services: basic service set and extended service set. Before moving with them, let us see the components used. First component is station. Station can be either mobile station or it can be stationary station. The meaning of mobile station is nothing but the stations which moves from one location to another location, just like your mobile phones or your laptops. The meaning of stationary station is just like your desktop, which is placed at the fixed location. The second component is AP. AP stands for access point, and in wireless network we can call this AP as a wireless router. Then we have the component as distributed system. The distributed system is nothing but one type of network which interconnects the various other networks. So distributed system can be either wired or wireless. Now we'll see about what you mean by BSS. Again, the basic service set has two types. One is ad hoc and another one is infrastructure. You can just observe the diagram here. In the ad hoc type of network, all the stations they are connected but there is no AP. So whenever or wherever you have the basic service set without AP, we call it as ad hoc network. And in another diagram you can see the stations are connected using the AP. So whenever you have the basic service set with AP, we call it as infrastructure. These are the basic things you need to know. Without AP we call it as ad hoc network, with AP we call it as infrastructure network. Now this is about the ESS, extended service set. The name itself suggests it is extended. The meaning is it is the version of basic service set. So two or more combination of BSS will form the ESS. So there are three BSS, all the three BSS, and which type of BSS we have used? Since we have the AP, we call it as infrastructure BSS. All the three infrastructure BSS are connected to distributed system. Through the distributed system, it is connected to server. Now let us see about the next topic, station types. Based on how the station moves, we have the three station types: no transition, BSS transition and ESS transition. First let us see about the no transition. For that you can consider this diagram. In no transition there is only one BSS. So within the BSS, if station moves or if station does not move at all, we call it as no transition. So no transition belongs to only one BSS. Station moves within its BSS or it is stationary. Now you can just see the diagram of BSS transition. For the BSS transition we have considered the diagram of ESS. How many ESS are there? There is only one ESS. And I think you can just observe the black line here. From first BSS we have connected a line to the second BSS. The meaning is station moves from one BSS to another BSS, but it should be within one ESS. Then third type we have is ESS transition. Again you can just see the diagram. In the diagram how many ESS we have? We have two ESS. You can just observe side by side. There are two same diagrams. Each one of them represent one ESS. Now you can just see the arrow mark. The meaning is station can move from one ESS to another ESS. It is known as ESS transition. Now before going to next topic, first let us see how communication happens. For that you can refer this ESS diagram. If station within the BSS want to communicate with each other, then there is no need of access point. The communication between the two nodes of the same BSS, then AP is not required. If nodes from one BSS want to communicate with nodes of another BSS, then there is a requirement of AP. Now let's see the next topic, MAC sub layer. You can just observe the diagram here. The diagram shows the relationship between MAC sub layer and link logical control layer. Data link layer is divided into two sub layers, MAC and logical link control. And MAC again defines two functions, point coordination function and distributed coordination function. We'll explain them later in the next slide. So first we'll see about distributed coordination function. And We studied that in a wireless LAN, CSMA bar CD access method is not used. Then which access method is used? The answer is it supports the access method called CSMA or CA. Carrier sends multiple access with collision avoidance. Access method is used. And the flowchart is the operation of CSMA bar CA with some of the additional signals. Now we'll understand the flowchart. Initially, how we begin? Before transmission of any of the data, or first we'll consider the backoff limit as 15, k limit as 15, and initially we'll set a k value as 0, that is backoff time. The meaning of k limit is nothing but those many times we can retransfer the data. We can retransfer the data 15 times. But after 15 we cannot retransfer the data. So initially the timing is set to 0. Now by applying one of the persistent like 1 persistent or by applying the p persistent, you can sense the channel, whether the channel is ideal or it is busy. If the channel is ideal, then immediate data transmission does not take place. What it does, if the channel is ideal, then sender waits for some period of time. That period of time we call it as IFS, interframe space time. Already we studied. But here instead of IFS we just named it as DIFS, which stands for distributed IFS period of time. After waiting for DIFS period of time, sender will send a signal called request to send signal, which indicates that, or this signal indicates whether the receiver is ready to receive the data or not. So when RTS is sent, sender will set a timer. Now when a receiver receives the RTS, again receiver will wait for some period of time. That period of time is shorter than the DIFS, and we call that period of time as short IFS period of time. After waiting for period of time, if the receiver is ready, then receiver will send back CTS signal, which is clear to send. The meaning is receiver is saying the sender that receiver is ready to receive the data. Now the sender, if already set a timer, so within the timer if CTS is received, then sender will again, he will not immediately send the frame. He again waits for short IFS period of time and then send a frame. After sending a frame, again sender will set a timer for the acknowledgement. If the acknowledgement is received within the timer set, then the transmission is successful. If acknowledgement is not received within the timer set, or if CTS is not received within the set time, then the K value gets incremented. Then that K and K15 gets compared. If K is less than K15, again wait for some back of time and continue with the procedure. If K is equal to or greater than K15, then no further transmission takes place. This is about CSMA bar CA of wireless LAN. Now, next concept we have is network allocation vector. This network allocation vector is used to solve hidden station problem. Now, first let us understand the problem by seeing the diagram. There are 4 stations A, B, C and D. A is a sender and B is a receiver. A is in the range of B, B is in the range of A, C and D, C is in the range of B and D, D is in the range of B and C. The meaning is A can hear B, B can hear A, C and D, C can hear B and D, D can hear B and C, where A cannot hear C, C cannot hear A cannot hear D and D cannot hear A. In such a case, the collision occurs. To avoid the collision, there is a concept called NAV. Now, we'll see this diagram and try to understand network allocation vector. There are 4 hosts A, B, C and D. A want to send the data to B. So what A does? A first send request to send signal to the B. Anyone who is in the range of A can hear RTS signal, since in the range of A only B is there. A and C are out of range, A and D are out of range. So whatever A does, it is seen only by B. Now RTS contains expected time that A can take for transmission. So when A sends a RTS signal, in the RTS even A will include the expected time of its transmission. So when B receives RTS, if B is ready to send or ready to receive the data, then B will send a CTS to A. Now the CTS is heard by all the stations which are in the range of B. So in the range of B, A is there, C is there, D is there. So if B sends a CTS to A, then the same thing is broadcasted to C and D, since C and D are in the range of B. And even CTS contains the duration for which B is expecting from A about the transmission period. Even the time duration what B is expecting from the A, that is included in the CTS. Now C and D, what they will do? They will listen for the duration of the time in the CTS, and for that duration of time they will set as NAV, network allocation vector, which means during the duration of NAV, C and D will not sense any of the medium. And when A receives CTS, A will send a data. So when B receives the data, B will send a acknowledgement. Since C and D are again in the range of B, even acknowledgement is broadcasted to C and D. Now we'll see what happens here. Initially, when the medium is ideal, immediately A will not transmit any of the data. What A does? A will wait for the period of time called DIFS and send a RTS. B waits for the time period of SIFS and sends the CTS. Then again A will wait for another DIFS period of time before sending the data. After waiting for DIFS, it sends the data. After receiving the data, B waits for SIFS time and sends the acknowledgement. Same thing is shown here. A is sending RTS, B is sending CTS. And after CTS is broadcasted to C and D, what C and D will do? C and D will read the duration within the CTS, and for that duration they will set them as NAV. So after CTS we have the NAV. So this NAV is set until the acknowledgement is received by C and D. After that itself, C and D are involved in sensing the medium with which collision can be avoided. Now let's see the next function of MAC layer, point coordination function. First of all, the point coordination function is not a compulsory method, it is an optional method, and it is applicable only to the infrastructure network, which means it is applicable to the BSS with AP. And PCF is always implemented on the top of DCF, and PCF has a polling method. Here you can just see there is a access point, there is a polled station. Meaning of polled station is access point is asking the station whether that station has some data to send it or no. That is nothing but polled station. Now we'll see the operation of this. So whenever AP want the data to be received, then what AP will do? AP will first ask the first station, that is it polls the first station. If first station has a data to send, then data is sent to AP and AP will receive the data from station 1. In the next iteration, AP will poll the second station. Again, from second station the data is sent and data is received by AP. In the same manner, AP will poll all the stations connected in the network. Now, There is one concept here to give the priority to DCF over the PCF. One set of time has been added. Already we had a DIFS and we had seen the SIFS. There is another set of time called PIFS, where P stands for PCF IFS, where PIFS is shorter than DIFS. Just assume at the same time, if a station want to use DCF and AP want to use PCF, always PCF has a higher priority than DCF. So station is using DCF, AP is using PCF. Then which will get the access first? Since PCF has a higher priority, AP will get the access first. There is a one issue in that. If all the stations or the stations are using only the DCF, then those stations will not gain access to the medium if always the PCF has a higher priority. To overcome this problem, they introduce a special frame called Bacon frame. This Bacon frame is nothing but repetition interval. So it repeats continuously and we call that as Bacon frame. And in this diagram, you can just see the B here. B stands for Bacon frame. Now we'll explain the operation. We'll see how it works. Initially, AP, it waits for the period of time called PCF IFS period. After that, Bacon frame, B frame, or the repetition interval has been sent. As soon as other stations, when they hear this, so there is one polled station, leaving that polled station, from the bottom 3 stations we call them as other stations. So all other stations, whenever they hear the Bacon frame, then what they will do? They will set their NAV. See, all 3 stations what they are doing? They are setting their NAV. When they set their NAV, they are not able to sense the medium. Then after this Bacon frame, it waits for another time called SIFS time. After waiting for SIFS time, AP polls the station from which station it wants the data. Now polled station, again immediately it will not send the data. Now see, below AP we have a polled station. So initially AP waits for PIFS time and send a Bacon period. When Bacon frame is heard, all the stations will set for the NAV except the polled station, and again AP will wait for the period of SIFS, then it will poll the station. Polled station will again wait for the period of SIFS, then polled station will send a acknowledgement plus data to AP. For the next interval, again AP waits for the period of SIFS, then AP will send an acknowledgement to first polled station and it will poll the next station. This is continued. So this is about MAC layer of wireless LAN.